You ate the Anybody? Anything? Anything at all? Tlingit? How? Okay. Taste. We'll move the camera so people can be seen. Baby. Just cut. Yeah, motion sickness down over here. Gosh, wait. Layer Nakutati project, yeah. But H-Tanway for hardcore. Somebody close the door. Adusa Achayati Khana. What Khan Kananikata? You guys can tell me who's here. No, there's nobody yet. Just say your name. Tlingit Sai. Shuye.
Geef, Kastin, Ina, Andachtin, 15, 15.
Adusa online kach. Shukwa Guam. Guanlin. Cheatwu. Yaukdat.
Was the jail?
Isicheuke.
Was the jail? Kunach.
Sandiki
Auktatsin.
So let's just do this. Everybody just tell me one thing. Try and make it sense. Gook. No pressure, just pressure. Need a second? Okay, you got 10 seconds. Put your sentence together. 10-second sentence. You can get Jeopardy a she in a khaketi. Kijk wanneer did you?
Hasuye, Shikam,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Kagwask, whoosh, Kagwask 10, whoosh, wait, cook, tapihedi, to
Okay.
Achji, power to which Kashmiki, Achsai, adopt.
Adikidachsoe.
Has requested could do Tlingit Super James.
Okay. I kind of had to walk up.
It's different than what. It's a different recording though.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's one that he's working on.
Okay.
Katsu, story of Chunadi.
Chunadi again? Chunadi. Chun Shabash. Okay. Achjiwa.
Kushtuyach. Is that?
Kushtiyach.
Yeah. Because I wrote it down, but I don't have it.
Gekachinach adusa ausaku. Aduchsa ausaku kushtiyach. Kushtiyach keshwatusaku. Cha yuch achtusha adat kushtiyach. It doesn't matter that we don't know what it means. We're going to talk about kushtiyach. It means it doesn't matter, right? Or I don't care. So the context would be, and it's kind of an adverb, I think. Kushtiyach, verb, blank, 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 right? It doesn't matter. Kushtiyach keshastu tuwapashku alkechatgeti atekatwakut. Doesn't matter that they don't want me there. I'm going. Right? Kushtiyach keshtana afji. Chayesu atchadaka hiti de. Doesn't matter, I don't have any money. Going to the restaurant. So yeah, it doesn't matter. So usually it's given in terms of like, even though this is so, this other thing's going to happen, right? So these are just ways to build up logic and Tlingit. I think there's a related one, kushtiyach, which is not correctly. Wanach sawet kushtiyachan tiyiniki. Raven told his eyes, why aren't you telling me correctly? Why are you telling it incorrectly? Oh,
Tatgewe nicht den Chagut ka nedak kwatsef didet af kuskushin ko
and what was the last part?
yeni.
Yishan. Now, pitzechke?
Huh?
What did you do?
Kicked
Yeah,
the table.
pitzechke. Yishan.
Actually took in soup, so I don't sound great. But
Gosh, ayak kitla for Ishan contest. Yohana, you might win it tonight.
yes.
We'll see. Okay.
Passed away today.
Yeah, I think.
Dayabi, UAS, Hosikuch, Atuke.
Okay. Okay, Chief.
I wrote this little story, or just a few sentences about something that's been going on at my house at home in Bhutan. So I have to read it because I can't remember it all.
Okay.
Ach, Neshi, ach niet at my house.
Mhm.
Gach shige.
Oh.
Shittika at
Oh.
Kushagao Yeti. Hasechtinuch. Just whoosh hastush on. Just was a cool one away. Gach Yage Kuna.
Oh. Kun Zoe, take here again. Kun gach Zoe. Take gach. This gach. Should the him? Oh. Okay. You make it dot again? Oh. Oh. Echas a coup in the dot way. Bush kush down. Gach. Gosh, it's kangaroo. Yeah, that's the way. It was. Kustin gach yacheti. Okay.
Gusue, Nichesh Kahari.
Echas a coup. Ik eet het de woozy.
Achuya,
No.
Takakarisati.
Yeah.
Tachasakuden Akhin.
Echas a coup. Ik eet kaya. Because the ink and the aku. Ach, inaku. Echa. Cascade. Yeah, there was song Susie James. Cascade. Now, Yuhan online Kwani. Ujawe ach. Microphone aqayi it qawaha. Guam aqaquanin aqayakdat aqa dantikin. Ujawe khatpa. This is mute.
How'd it go on? Khatya Nashain.
But yeah, wait. Guam Kosti Yishan wa. Echasaku. Hekishayik. Maybe. Hekishayik. Don't melt.
She's
It will.
Achuk Yannick Yachana Kua Tlingit Achtuasigu Derchdana Itina Hatcheti.
Ide kat kwasus dana. Ya washdan qandana yqa kettuni achjibu. Wash achji qa achkarik. Ha. Igo ikhwan. Yaqdati iqo.
Ach tuus a gwech. Ach yid chatini. Ach tuasigu ach yid tlingit kusti yi ka. Tlingit chashi yi adahas. Wusiku.
Chucha gudach ach shad tlal kusa tinch. Achiye yitat chiye gugin kach tu yinik yishan khat.
Well, too, yeah, connect what you got Ishan contest, go one. How that seem?
Like,
Technisch gay sentence away.
Kakwashnik, ja, dat tak asa shkashnigi itwasigu. Kachachgu, kachu, hats.
A duch eidach away.
Dasa?
A duch eidach away, wish kashnik.
Forgot. Chishkwasiku.
Kach art, dant aya, auch de tan. Shiddehain, kutsku away. Ya, tuasagu, has away. Ausaku adat, kach art, ka shkundi, so. Well, Hilkadain has our school when Hagyu Katangi. Ako Hakagay is away. Yan has put the knock. Hakach away has clue shakdown. Yo, Tatke away to Yagi away. Yajin, the two hook daka hit the duck hook aya. Ach yedi aya our two. I do so way. Ya Yagi, the Inkachwini, the presidents there away. George Washington again. George Washington Bridge again. Achina Kawani. Heshwa to Saku. What? Hesh adegach to ye away ach yadi. Kach at yagi ayako ya Alaska ku kach. Kunachach twas the go hasausaku da. Aka Shukushkun a tuchayat the kata at yetki. Kelchis gate Kashinkitskun. Aka twas the go kunach away Shinkitskuna ya wutut yech. Kelchis singit yes pa the cut at yetki. Kagi yes. A dude study to us a good thing a day aya has kakwa the pa yekwati. Kingi you a tangish to two. The Kunaka to us a good a daily aya. So how you a tangi ayagach to days. Yea away after was a good. Ya hashif Hajit has our tea hayo a tangi hakosti. Aka Akage yes ayaha e hasal to hayuka tangi ha post. Which yachyedash, Akaye kwati, yak to yake dan. Yisukuge adu sawe, kach art, ka shquindi. That's why has declared kasal ku. Yisukuge. Elizabeth Paranovich, William Paul. Okay, on to business. There's business decisions to make. We have three things that we're going to do today. Well, that I want. Just know, you just come along for the ride. Talk about motion verbs. Conjugate some. Kech. Motion verbs. Dot. Dech. Verbs. Ayah. Nask. Tlingit ayah. Kachki ach. Aka ach in kananik. Das the way they kachinach. Yakegi shichedach. Dachun yis. Dictionary ayah. Kachki the two. Yahweh naski ah. Dachun yachka ah. Takasa yitwasikushukwa.
That's Yechana again?
Ah. Suck. What? Heka. Was that do some motion verb Tlingit Linguistics. At uwahayi at. Echosek. Dech. Was dich. Is dictionary. Not. Tlingit Yuchatangi ayay. Kachit ach. Aka ach in kaktinik. Tekachinach. Uski at. Dachun verbs ayayi yech. Which ones do you want to do? Can't keep saying I'll get it wrong every time. Which one was that?
Conjugate.
Okay. So we'll go back to and we'll go around the room, get everybody here in the room, and then we'll go online in the same order we've been going in. Just to review, we started off with this is a perfective object verb, or object verb, perfective state verb, takes an object. This is the formula. Object. Perfective. Classifier. CH, high tone E, underline X, apostrophe W. It will be every single time. Okay. When we talk about, I was going to talk about stem variation too. I guess I forgot that. Okay. Cajun I. Okay. So these are object pronouns. There's plenty of places to find lists of these pronouns. The Tlingit Dictionary of Tlingit, the Zeosh handout, understanding Tlingit verbs, maybe a pronoun tattoo with a classifier tattoo on the other arm. Oh, sheesh. I just set some handouts in. Okay. So this is a handout I gave you guys the other day, but really I just want you to try and figure out how to say it. So I will say it in English. You will say it in Tlingit. Okay? So if it's O, object, perfective, there's usually going to be a base sort of form, and then we'll build up with that. We did this one already, so you should have very accurate notes of it. Easy to find. We did this last time, right?
Yeah.
We did up to second person.
That's all we did?
We didn't do third person or definition. Because we had 5 things to do for that.
We had what? 5 things to do that as well. 3 things. Okay. What is the base verb? What is the verb? What's the third person form of this? Anyway. He or she or it is dirty. Yeah, what? Okay? Everybody say wushitecho. Okay. I'm dirty. Chat Wushitecho. Chat Wushitecho. Chat Wushitecho. And these are popping up in perfective form. They are state verbs, so they work as a sort of a present tense sort of a statement. So we're being dirty right now. People are being dirty. Everybody's being dirty. You are dirty. Eu chetejo. Eu chetejo. So we see the perfective is susceptible to being contracted, right? So it goes wu, shle, and you get eu shle. We are dirty. How chetejo. Y'all are dirty. You chetejo. So same thing, it has this open ending, it's going to cause that contraction. They are dirty. Wait, where are we at?
That's where.
Okay. They are dirty. Haswushetejo. Haswushetejo. So the do would be the possessive form. But if we were going to say they are happy, hasdutuwusehu. So we just sort of, and this is what the verb theme tells us, and we sort of know that by learning the other forms of the verb, and just looking at how it basically conjugates. And then we can go completely, I think on Thursday we'll go completely insane with a whole wide variety of object-subject combinations. And the verb will be love, then we'll find we can do those exact same combinations with the verb hate, which is probably how it's going to end up. Okay?
So is it W-U for hus?
Yes. Has wushetejo. Why not so way? Why?
Because before it was like the W contracted with E, right?
Yeah, so if the object pronoun is closed, it's its own separate word and it does not affect the verb. If it's open, it will affect the verb. So that's why there's been some waffling on how to write it. Should we write yushetejo all as one word? Typically the answer, what we've been running with, no. If the object's pronoun is more than 2 syllables, it gets disconnected. That's just the way we've been running. Although chadeti, I would usually write that as one word. Because it's shtuqa chadeti. You could also say shtuqa chatdeti. You could say either one.
Tesla and perfective marker isn't.
Yes. Would they say chat mushetejo? But not all the time, though.
They would do it all the time.
Maybe. I'll have to ask Katie Shi. I think it's a impletejo.
I know she says a younger T.
Yeah. Yeah, so I bet you. So she would probably say mushetejo. Which is what he would say, or she would say. Can you ask her? Just say, how would you say he or she? Just ask her to do these forms.
The other day, Sam said, "Shkam
Like he or she lied.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the perfective is an M. The irialis is probably not an M. Even though they often they appear kind of identical. But I guess, well, if someone in here was a student of linguistics, there's a really good experiment that you could do right there. You set up a series of things. So one, so I would get a series of verbs that you can get the conjugation from the 575 Tlingit verbs. Oh yeah, I'll write these out. It's cheap. And then you get these, and you find ones that have the perfective, like these. But then you find ones that have irialis, not the perfective. So that would be, it wouldn't be I'm not dirty, because that one, I think, has both the irrealis and the perfective, although they just sort of end up doing the same job. Slightly different. They have slightly different parents because the classifier changes. Yeah, I'll find some verbs for you that would work well. And you can work with either Sam or Bessie. They're great. Bessie's really good. She's really amazing. She's so much fun. Okay. So I was gonna write these down.
How would you gloss it? Would it still be that Y with the two dots?
So if you were going to, the segment of this would be, hold on. Which one? Because
For the,
just gotta pick one.
for the perfective form.
Oh,
With
yeah.
the M.
I guess if I were to segment that, I would put MU. And then it will contract. Huh.
But that's, is that,
Because I would put MU because it's going to contract differently. Because we would say kudziti for it exists. We would say kudziti for it's born. In Tesla, they would say kudziti, it exists. Kumziti, it was born. So you're getting a different set of contractions. So I was just thinking of this big, these big prefix tables we've been building. We're going to have to build brand new ones for Tesla. Or you're going to have to build brand new ones for Tesla.
so it's only Tesla, it's not.
No, it is Tesla and some speakers in car class.
Okay.
But it is not Atlan. Unless those speakers are really influenced by Tesla. That's been my experience, is that it is primarily a Tesla. But there's a speaker in car class, and he says, the keys. It's tangled up. Okay, where do we leave off? There, David? Okay. Jutine, people are dirty. Kushlichev. Kushlichev. That should be underline K. It should be underline K, O-O-W, L-I, C-H, high tone E, underline X, apostrophe W.
Is it all one word?
What's that?
Is it all one word?
Yes. That would all be one word. Because cook would be, we're adding cook as the object that is 2 letters, so it's attached. Okay. So now, for the perfective form, when we go to the negative perfective, what generally tends to happen is some people have said there's no irrealis, there's really just a perfective. But I think that they are both there. And Zeus also thinks that they're both there. But they just sort of cancel each other out. But what does happen is the classifier changes, right? So we go plus I when the verb has already happened. We go minus I for any other forms. So really it just marks completion of the verb. So then all other forms, if the verb is not completed, then we go over. There are a couple, there's like this one group of exceptions which we'll look at later. But for now, you're pretty safe saying if it's perfective, it's plus I. If it's other things, it's more than likely minus I. So when we go minus I, in this case, you're going to get kesh. So I'll give you the third person singular form of this. Kesh. Wush'echo. Kesh. Wush'echo. So what you're getting here is kesh is going to be in the front of all of these forms. And the base verb is going to be W-U-L CH apostrophe, high-toned EI, underline X apostrophe W. So what we see is when we go negative perfective with this particular verb, there's a couple things that change. And these are really, so what happens? Okay, sorry, taking too much. The classifiers change. Let's just do this. I'll just give you these ones because there's some funky things going on. Some of the funky things that are going on is there is a less likely chance that there will be the types of contractions that you've seen because the aerialis and the perfective marker are both there. So, for I'm not dirty, كالخط والشيخ كالخط والشيخ كالخط والشيخ. And then you're going to see a different, when we go into the second person singular, when you had for the positive form, the negative form is going to be so you're going to see that classifier collapsing, basically. So what we have here is the sh form. That is a sh classifier that is contracting to okay? And then we had he or she is not dirty.
So then would the classifier still say shit and the glossing at the top?
If you were to gloss this, if you were to segment, oops, that should be shla. That should be shla. So when you see that perfective, underneath it, it says klesh plus o, u, y, shla. Sheesh. And then cheo. Kesha was cheo. Kesha was cheo. We're not dirty. Keshi was cheo. Keshi was cheo. Y'all aren't dirty. Keshas was cheo. Keshas was cheo. They're not dirty. Keshku was cheo. Keshku was cheo. Nobody is dirty, or people aren't dirty. That's the way.
What's left? Is it LA?
It is LA, but what's happening in this form is because you've got an object pronoun, you've got the aerialis, you've got the perfective marker, and you've got the shla. It is the LA, but in all of these forms, it's contracting to L. And I'll have to look up, we'll go over some rules on Thursday. We'll look at what the Dauenhauers wrote up for some rules of contraction and the order that these things take place. It's in the one of the appendices to Tlingit Linguistics.
Why does the root change?
The root changes because of stem variation. And so what we'll do is we'll look at stem variation and how that's affected. So right now, what you should be doing is when you look at some base form, you look at some form of a verb, and you just make a mental note of whether it's short and high, long and high, long and low, right? And then you just sort of, you go from there, right? So the first one we see, short and high. The bottom one we see is going to be long and low. And there's going to be two factors that determine stem variation. Right? There are two factors that determine it. I guess three. This is not a good counting data. One is the stem variable. And we have two types of stems, variable and invariable. There's a difference of opinion on how to mark these. Chagishawu will mark a variable stem with a tilde after it. So if there's a tilde on the verb theme, we all know what a tilde is, that little squiggly line. Right? that's what it sounds like. And then Zeosh will mark invariable stems with a little cross that goes, it's kind of a little superscript.
That's just
I was up till 3:30 in the morning with sick children.
the cross.
Yes, the cross.
That's just clearly crazy.
What's that?
That's just clearly crazy. Tell me what's complete stuff.
What's that? Well, okay, so here's the logic behind the tilde is saying if it has the tilde, you know it's variable. And then then you can look for what the stem shape is, right? So we said there's stem shape and there's conjugation prefix. Those two things are at the heart of stem variation. Zeosh is trying to say, well, we should think of variable stems as the default, because invariable stems, there's really not that many. So you give them a special marking so that people know to keep in mind that doesn't change. Khan is khan every time, right, for love. So then you have two, once you get into the stem, you get into the stem shape. There's open and closed. What does that mean?
Is there ends in a vowel or a consonant?
Yep, so open, the stem ends in a vowel. What's an open stem? Anybody think of it?
T.
T.
Ka.
Cha. Come on. Ku? Sorry? Yeah, what? One more.
Good. Good.
No, it's got an end in a vowel.
Goo.
Goo. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So if it's open, there's going to be two types. There's going to be regular, fading. Fading means if you close that stem, it's going to change its shape, right? And there's certain ones that do that, like chaich. This Y pops up, right? And it's because it's a fading stem. Fading stems are not marked in the Dictionary of Tlingit. Fading stems will be marked in future forms, in future publications and other websites that Yishavu is creating. They are marked in publications that Zeosh and Seth Cable are creating. So that's open. So you've got open roots. There's two varieties, regular and fading. And it just affects the way that it takes shape. When it's closed, it has a consonant. What are some closed roots? Can we name it? Goot. That one was closed.
Teen.
Teen. That is closed. And filthy. So when they're closed, you have three types. One is just your standard run-of-the-mill, can go short and high, long and high, long and low. And it will appear as a long and low stem with a tilde after it in the Dictionary of Tlingit. If it has a tilde and a high tone mark, that means it will never go low. It can only be short and high, long and high. And then if it's an ejective and it ends with an apostrophe, that can never go low. Okay? And so then from there you have a stem shape, and then what the stem will be in that particular verb mode is entirely determined by the conjugation prefix. Unless it's a future form, then we love the future form. Long and high, negative future, long and low, every time. Okay. Our next object-driven state verb, the perfective form, is object plus the thematic prefix sa. What does that mean? Sa. How would we translate that little particle thematic prefix? Yeah, it's to do with like this part of the body, but usually it has to do with the voice, right? So you could say, awa'ach is to hear something, and then you say, sawa'ach is to hear a voice. Okay, and then we have the L classifier group, and there's a perfective verb. We have shlit. The verb root is gao, long and low. So the third person for this, and it's an imperfective form, so there's no perfective marker in here. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
The third person? Yeah.
Yes, sashagao. Sashagao. S-A-L-I-G-A-A-W. Sashagao. What's the first person object pronoun? Chat. It's the first person plural. Ha. Second person singular. It. Second person plural. Ye. Third person singular. Good job. Third person plural. Us plus 0. Okay. And the independent human can be either ka or k.
Is there any pattern to that?
Let's think about that. I think my guess, should look closer into it, is that if there's a thematic prefix, it tends to prefer ka. Or if there's a version of it where there's a k verb that means weather, like kuwake or kuyake, then you would usually say ka, so that people know you're not talking about weather. So typically you could say kuwake or kuyake, the weather is good. Then you would say kayake to distinguish between those two. But then but other than that, it might be just like pick your own type. Okay. Whose turn was it? Okay. And this means to be loud voiced. I'm loud voiced. There's no irony there whatsoever. You are loud voiced. Isashagao. 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 Kashashchao. Oops. I'm not paying attention to this script. Okay, I'm going to take a look at your... Okay. What was it? We are loud voiced. Yeah, oh what? Eat woo. Y'all are loud voiced. Yeah, oh what? Hyaukutat. They are loud voiced.
Hasafagao.
Yeah, oh what? People are loud voiced.
Okay.
Yeah, oh what? So when we go into the negative, oops, I should say What am I doing? sloppy. Change that to imperfective.
Insert all of the knots in the English.
What's that?
Yeah, gotta turn all the knots.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm not. Just say not and before all the louds. And change that perfective marker to an irrealis. Okay, so this is the negative imperfective form of this verb. So we have kech, which could be pick your own. Kech, kech, es, shes, tish. Whichever one you want. Just the L on its own is pretty rare. I'd say pick from that group. Plus object sa, thematic prefix, the letter U for the irrealis. Just scribble out that funky Y thing. Shla is the classifier. Gao. Our stem did not change shape. So when you have sa plus plus sha, you are going to get seichgao. So the third person is going to be kech seichgao. Kech seichgao. So we're looking at how these combinations get put together, right? And this is just, again, we're seeing that the sha, in this case, is contracting to, and this is just something that's likely to happen because we're stacking up some things. Sa, plus plus kla, and that's what we're getting. The other thing that we're getting here is we're not getting a lot of contraction caused by the open object pronouns before it. So going through, let's take a shot. Okay, so if kech seichgao is our base form for the third person, auk tatsin, I'm not loud voiced.
Yes. Seichgao.
Yeah, aware. Tuyet, you are not loud voiced.
Please. Yes, say God.
You're aware. He or she is not loud voiced. You're aware. We are not loud voiced. You're aware. They are not loud voiced.
They.
Is that where we're at? Wait, what do we have?
You are.
Y'all are not loud voiced. Chief. They are not loud voiced. People are not loud voiced. Seichgao. Seichgao. So we're going to stick with that. And so, okay. Are you okay? You okay, guy?
Wait, I'm still confused. Why does it go from sa to say?
So what you've got is you've got sa plus and it's just going to create say. Right? And this is just, and what you're going to see is you're going to see stem, you're going to see the prefix changing shape when certain things match. Like for example, if you have tu plus I, you get t. Right? And so there's just certain combinations that you got to get used to seeing. And so sa plus the or the y, the arealis or the perfective, is going to create say.
The U is the irreality.
Yes, it's the arealis. Okay, let's change gears. We've got 4 things left to do in the next 15 minutes. There's a couple of things I want you to think about. I'm going to talk about this motion verb handout very quickly, and I'm going to talk about the dictionary handout very quickly. You don't necessarily need to take a look at them right now. So reading about motion verbs and how they're functioning in Tlingit, and Shabu's 575 Tlingit verbs, and talking to Zeus about the way he's listing these, the idea here is to talk about how motion verbs function. So when we talk about these different verb types, we talk about what they do. Motion verbs, positional verbs are the most predictable. They're the most predictable because they only have one form. So you don't even need to know what the conjugation prefix is. You just need to know the basic verb form. They really don't conjugate a whole lot, and there's really not very many of them. But motion verbs, what types of things are motion verbs in Tlingit? You don't have to say the Tlingit verb, but just what would the English verb be as a motion verb in Tlingit? What are some things that are motion verbs in Tlingit?
Run.
Run?
Fly. Fly.
Fly?
Go by.
Drive? Go by car? Go by boat? Swim?
Walk.
Walk?
Jump.
Jump?
Dance.
Dance? I think dance is an act. I guess you could probably dance somewhere, but there's a whole bunch of things that you could change into motion verbs as well, right? There's a verb, adeuja, utwujaqaq, akachujaqaq. It landed there. But then you could take that same verb root and someone could be squatting. And you could take that same verb root and someone could be squat walking. Right? And so it's really fun the way that you sort of look at how these work. So then there's also rolling, blowing around, and then there's a whole series of carrying verbs. All of those carrying verbs are motion verbs. Take it up, put it down, bring it here, bring it there, hand it to me. Ach'et sa'inhin. Right? Bring it to me, ma. All of these qualify, they're all categorized under motion verbs. And the reason why motion verbs are really important in Tlingit, because there's a set of preverbs. So when we look at this handout, what you're looking at here is one, we're going to look at zero conjugation prefix preverbs. And there's this huge list that is put together looking at Aki Shawu and Zeus looking at their work, who looked at Jeff Lear's work, and they've also looked at Dauenhauer's work, and trying to figure out how to teach these motion verbs. And it's changing the way that we teach these motion verbs. So what you see is there's a whole series of types of motion. Right? It's not really direction, it has to do with what type of motion is that. And so there's a whole series looking at these definitions. That's what would appear in the preverb. When the preverb changes, that determines what type of conjugation prefix it would be, and that determines how you're going to conjugate all of those particular verbs. So it's a really interesting way to think about it, because then you've got this whole list here of a whole mess of things, and then you got an example with gut. But that verb could change. You could change basically the stem of that verb, the root, and gut, and you could change that to chich, or you could change that to peen, or you could change that to guat. You could change that to the type of motion, and it's still going to conjugate in the same way. The ways it will start to change is if there's also thematic prefixes or other types of things built in there. For me, the most confusing one is for plural people to run, right? Because if you say, I ran there, you'd say, Ade choshich, right? I ran there. To say we ran there, Ade hashayukuk. It's crazy because it uses an object pronoun and it has kl built into it as a thematic prefix. And what is kl as a thematic prefix?
Say it again.
Kl. The point, or the nose, right? The point of the nose. So, think about these objects. Take a look at those, and when you're taking a look at those, take a look at this draft version of the dictionary, which is very incomplete. It's based on an idea talking to Zeus about a new dictionary that he was working on, but then didn't have time. and then looking at Shawu and the amazing work she's been doing with verbs. And not to have the complete listing of all the potential, there's more than 12, but she lists these really 12 important verb forms, and this narrows it down to probably like 6. The same command forms, prohibitive forms, verb, don't verb, verbing right now, verb, so imperfective, perfective, progressive imperfective, future. That's really the only forms that are there, positive, negative forms of each. So take a look at that, and this is your chance to provide feedback on how it's developing. The way that this is working is the verb root would be listed with the homonym, and then it'll have the meaning of that verb root. And underneath that would be the verb themes. So you see you have this root, and you can make these verbs by just adding a number of things. So the way that you can change a verb and create verbs within a root is by changing the classifier, adding thematic prefixes, and sort of doing some other things like having it athematic and other things like that. Also take a look at how motion verbs are listed here. And it might be biting off more than we could chew. I'm not exactly sure how to list these. Because what it does is it lists all of those different pre-verb categories. So it'll say 0 motion pre-verbs, a big huge list. And then it'll say, here's the 0 motion form. And it'll say blank blank. And I think it says root. I can't remember what it said. Ought should be the first one. And then the other thing that this does is it lists whether it's a compound noun or not, and if it's a compound noun, it breaks apart its components. So ought, so you've got 0 conjugation. In the listing, you have 0 pre-verb. And the way that this works is you have parentheses, and parentheses means that thing is optional, or something can take its place. And then you have, what do you call those little squiggly brackets?
Squiggly brackets.
Squiggly brackets, right? You get squiggly brackets, and that means that's the type of thing that goes there. And sometimes you could pick from a number of different options that would go there. So take a look at that. We'll talk about that more on Thursday. For now, in the next 8 minutes, we're going to start practicing our listening skills as well. We're reading lots of Tlingit Linguistics. We're talking about a lot of different themes and different types of things, but we just want to listen to some Tlingit as well. So we've been working on this Word of the Week program. We had just finished proofreading our first kind of complete set of words. This is from K.E. Shi. So you're going to hear some tests on dialect in there and just some amazing, fun sentences. So what you're going to hear is the speaker is going to say a word, and there'll be a pause, then there'll be a sentence. What I would like you to do is tell me what that word is. Do your best to translate that sentence. Okay, and we probably won't get to too many of these, but we'll at least get started, and we'll pick up here on Thursday. We'll do some more conjugations, object-subject combinations. For now, we're just gonna listen. We're good. And we'll go same thing we've been doing, one at a time. And it was it yours? You left out? Okay. See where the audio goes. Not where I want the audio to go. Let's try this again. You heard it? Yes, caribou went in the woods, right? So askatu de wuat we watsich. Excellent.
Hidi.
Ready?
Hidi. Hidi Nir Ashayawati Wita. Hidi. Hidi Nir Ashayawati Wita.
Atkan hidi yech ashayawati weta.
King salmon in the smokehouse.
Absolutely. Like, he or she hung up a king salmon in the smokehouse. So you've got the ashayawati, that's a verb for something to hang by the head of. So it's hanging by the head. Okay. Okay. Eat woo.
The Yaguyida Yakanajas.
I'm having
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm having trouble with this, but I think she's saying.
Yeah, okay, I can read it too. Atcha du yagu yide ya akanjesh.
Suya Yanota?
Atcha du yagu yide ya akanjesh. Atcha du yagu yide ya akanjesh. Okay. Ya akanjesh. Anybody know that one? Jesh, kawa jesh would be, this is a carrying verb, and this is to carry all of one particular thing, but sometimes in multiple trips, and sometimes bringing them.
So they carried the food to his boat?
Yep, he or she is carrying the food to his or her canoe. Okay, and I don't know if, I guess the audio is probably not coming through online, so I'll play it, Uncle Ish, and then I will, I'll say it just in case it's not coming through on your end as well.
IMDT. IMDT. Der sandet actually. IMDT. IMDT. Der sandet actually.
Yachke.
The first half, couldn't hear the second.
Okay. So we've got ayumdati. Klein ayumdati. Dech sande akshuwachi.
Kind of having trouble with that one. It sounded like
Yes. Yeah. So on the coast would say Atlein ayaudati dech sande akshuwachi.
and then it sounded like Dech Sunday, like I don't know how to interpret it. It sounds like Sunday.
Yeah. Yes.
And then a shuachich would be like it ended.
Yeah, or it passed. It passed. Sunday. Have you guys heard that? Sunday. What is Sunday?
Sunday.
It's Sunday, yeah. What is chak? Between, right? So between Sundays. That is the for a week, right? It was really windy for 2 weeks. Sunday. Love Tlingish. It's my favorite language. Okay. Might be the last one we got time to do. This will be the last one.
Job. That's the lady at ooh, away with jog. Job. That's the lady at ooh, away with jog.
Yeah.
She's saying that he was the crest of the duck cage.
Yeah, away. Cheese, Stikat Yuhan. We'll pick this up on Thursday, and we'll do some more crazy verb conjugations. We'll talk about some specifics of the imperfective and perfective forms, a little bit more in stem variation. But we'll just start off by listening to Tlingit and translating. These bite-sized chunks are really fun. Yeah, wait. Cheese. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, what?